Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Lamode, and today on Hot Lamode we are going to be reacting to all of the red carpet looks from the Oscars 2020 red carpet. It was a mess. Like, honestly, I feel like I should have expected this, but honestly, I always just have very positive vibes. I always expect everybody to turn it out for a moment, but the Oscars really was the culmination of everything that was wrong with this award season. So, yeah. Before we get any further into the video, if you guys are looking for a channel that talks about fashion in the most fun, sassy, bitchy, analytical way this is it, you can go down below, hit the subscribe button, and turn on my post notifications. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? You're already here. And if you guys want to see more from me, you can follow me on any of my social medias linked down below, and you can check out the Fashion Victims podcast that I host with my friend Janelle Jamal, where we talk about the fashion news and gossip you need to know. Wow, good one. So let's just get right into it. First up is Beanie Feldstein in Miu Miu. I want to say ew. I think Beanie's had like a rough go of it this award season. I think for a woman who is not of this stereotypical movie star figure, it must be very difficult to find dresses for the red carpet that work, but it looks like Miu Miu made her this custom look. I'm just not that impressed, you know what I mean? Like, the halter I think is okay on her. I understand they probably wanted to use that as a way of support for the girls, very important, always, but I think the sequins and like the black rose embroidery or whatever sort of detailing that is, it's just a bit blah. You know, we've seen it a million times. It's, you know, there's just nothing that amazing about it. I get it's the Oscars and it's meant to be very classy, upscale, but I don't think that that means it necessarily has to be boring. I just really don't think that those things are equated. I think you can do class, but also with a bit of newness, with a bit of vigor, with a bit of, you know, oomph. And unfortunately, I just think it just doesn't have that oomph. Been there, done it, have the t-shirt, like, it's just a bit blah. Next up is one of the most talked about looks of the night, and it is in fact Billie Eilish in Chanel. Now, Billie is no, you know, stranger to Chanel. She's worn the brand before, but here on the red carpet where we normally see her in Gucci, I will say I'm so blessed that her stylist was like, all right, enough with the Gucci for one night, because the Gucci monogram shit is getting very, very, very tiring. But I don't really know if I love this Chanel tweed moment with the Chanel logo all over it either. I just really think it's so, ugh. Now, I have called for Billie to wear a dress in the past. I think that she should wear, you know, something a bit different. Just because you're doing oversized, which is your aesthetic, doesn't mean that you have to wear a gigantic jacket and pant every single time. The pants are so big. It's giving me anxiety. With the shoes, can't even see the shoes. It looks like pediatric shoes that she's wearing. I think the Chanel lace gloves, like, I'm never gonna forget that woman from Coachella that wore the Chanel gloves. Like, that's what that is reading to me. It doesn't look interesting. It doesn't look different. I think also if you're just gonna do this oversized thing, you really need to push it with the accessories, and like a lace fingerless glove is not really pushing it. I get it. That's what she likes. She likes oversized, cool. But like, also, you don't always have to wear pants and a shirt in order to, you know, fall into that oversized style. You were one of, you know, the most revolutionary artists of the 21st century so far. So let's do something that's a bit revolutionary in the fashion sphere as well. Really, truly like Billie. I like her work. I think it's, quite frankly, amazing. I just think every single time I see her on a red carpet or fashion-wise, it usually falls short. And I think this is a perfect example of that. Next up is Billie Porter in Giles Deacon Couture. Don't love it. And I think Billie Porter has run the course of, you know, that red carpet moment, specifically last year. Fantastic. It was beautiful. It was this amazing Christian Siriano moment, and it's probably one of the, you know, top 3 Christian Siriano moments that will ever happen. But I don't think this is any chicer whatsoever. Billie Porter was so smart last year because it really was this amazing take on gender fluidity, you know, gender bending, like taking elements of masculine and feminine dress and combining them into something that really was breathtaking. And I think more and more and more, he's become so costume, and it's almost become a joke now. And I think that's when it really starts to, you know, pitfall, is that it's not meant to be a joke. It's meant to be something that's quite revolutionary and different. And this to me reads as costumey. Next up is Brie Larson wearing Celine by Eddie Slimane. Here's the thing. I actually think it fits her really, really beautifully. I think, you know, as far as basic goes, it's a nice basic. It's not something that totally offends my eye. I'm not like crying about it. Is it revolutionary? Absolutely not. But it looks nice. I think the color is good. It's quite light for Celine. Celine is normally very dark and black and white and like scary and, you know, shitty silver. But here I think this light sort of blush pink is actually really, really nice on her. And I think it's a nice little, you know, left turn for Celine. And I hope that maybe we get some more color in seasons and fashions to come. I think that slit totally ruins it. Listen, you put a cape on her. You put a cape on her. Put the slit at the back of the dress because nobody's gonna see the slit because you put a cape on her. But good for Brie Larson, happy to see it. Next up is Caitriona Balfe. She is an icon. I am obsessed with her. She's from Outlander. I don't know if she was in a movie this year, but she's an Irish queen. She's wearing the first look from the most recent Valentino Haute Couture collection, and she looks stunning, 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 stunning. Pier Paolo, if you're watching, hi, how are ya? Ciao, what's going on? I love you. You're an icon. The most recent Valentino collection actually was about sort of lifting the curtain a bit on the behind the scenes of haute couture, which is what you actually have here in this look. A lot of Valentino's haute couture has been quite big and voluminous and oversized, and here Pier Paolo really started to go tighter, and I think that's actually, quite frankly, a really, really nice little touch. So in this look, you have this little chiffon pink overlay top that is a bit oversized, but it's sheer, so you can actually see this caged black bustier underneath, which we love. And then it has this tight little trumpet skirt or mermaid skirt that is beautiful. Its shape is magnificent. The models on the runway walked in it beautifully, and I think Caitriona, you know, embodies the Valentino woman perfectly. And I think this is a great example of just because it's the Oscars and you're meant to be classy does not mean you necessarily have to be basic, boring, or wearing something that we've already seen a million times before. You can actually wear something that is different, that is a little bit pushing the envelope because you're a celebrity. You're meant to be pushing, you know, the status quo just a little bit. Here, I think this is happening here. It's different, it's interesting, it's making you think, and I think it plays perfectly into Valentino's plan of, you know, being one of the baddest bitches of haute couture, and I love to see it. Next up is Charlize Theron in Dior haute couture, and like, honestly, now I'm wearing Dior haute couture. The thing is, when you have straps on a dress, when they fall off, that means that it doesn't fit, that it isn't actually crafted to perfection, and haute couture is meant to be a second skin. It's meant to fit perfectly. Yet, somehow, the woman designing haute couture isn't making it fit. And I don't know if that's meant to be like her little way of being like super smart and different and like, you know, an avant-garde artist, but like, it's haute couture. Shit should fit. Like, I'm very lost on why this is fashion. Because listen, sweet baby angel Maria Grazia, I could do this myself. Like, I could start making, you know, t-shirts off like this too. I mean, Telfar already does it, and he has a collaboration with Gap. Like, do you want an Old Navy collab, babe? Like, what is going on? Like, this is not fashion. It's a black, boring peplum top with one awful strap off the shoulder and a terrible slit dress with some sort of weird ass Tran. Like, that's not fashion. That is a fucking dress that I could buy at Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus or I don't know, like H&M. I could buy it at H&M. You are an H&M fashion designer, so go back there because nobody wants you to do anything. You suck. Next up is Cynthia Erivo in Versace, and no, I can't even talk about the strap. Like, what is that, Donatella? What is that? Like, what? Who said, yeah, let's put a strap across her fucking breastbone and say, oh, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Like, it's not. It's bruta. I don't speak much Italian, but I know bruta is ugly, and like this dress is fucking bruta. You ruined a Cynthia Erivo moment that we could have loved and lived for. Like, where is the energy for the Little Nas moment on any other celebrity? Like, Little Nas's pink moment from the Grammys was this beautiful nod back to Gianni Versace. And somehow, every other time that we've seen a celebrity on a red carpet in Versace, it is always just so awful and tacky and sad and boring. And I know that, like, tacky was semi-Versace, but the boring and the awful and the uninteresting part was very not Versace. I like can't, oh, I'm looking up close now and I'm seeing that, like, in fact, the strap is piped with the crystals from all over the bodice. I also just can't stand the like, it's just so shitty discotheque from the 1970s, but like not in a cute, fun, funky way. I think the skirt with the little panier is just not helpful. I don't want to see the leg. Just don't even show me the leg. Put the leg away. Honestly, it looks like her other boob is like falling off her body. Like, it just pushed everything to one side in the most unflattering way. Why? Next up was Florence Pugh in Louis Vuitton, and like, Jesus Christ. Somebody said on Twitter something along the lines of everybody from the cast of Little Women dressed terribly to protest Greta Gerwig not being nominated, and like, it's a believable story. I don't understand why Nicolas Gasquet can't actually take the looks from his red carpet and alter them so that they become great red carpet moments, because like, always these Louis Vuitton people look absolutely awful. Like, nothing about this is interesting. The tiers from this, skirt down are awful. They don't do Florence Pugh any justice. I don't think the belt is necessary or helpful, and I still am at a loss as to why the LVMH people love to throw a belt on stuff. Florence Pugh would have been great in like a Balenciaga, one of those gigantic crinoline gowns from the most recent Balenciaga. It just would have been so beautiful, but instead we get this awful aquamarine tier disaster. It's a disaster, and you should all know why. Next up is Gal Gadot in Givenchy, and for some reason her stylist Elizabeth Stewart was giving people fashion advice on that Next in Fashion show, and like, you put her in the one look that everybody said was one of the worst from the Givenchy show. Like, why? And then the other thing is, she removed all like the big asymmetrical stuff, which at least made it, ugly, but at least it was like semi-interesting. At least it took your eye away from the fact that the black and the pink is so awfully clashing. It's just not attractive. I don't think the lace is great. Like, honestly, if you're gonna do a lace, show the girls. Show the girls off, please, because like, I need something to distract me. And then you have gigantic black ribbon that, creates the waist and has to mix the pink and the black lace. And then Lord knows what even is happening with that skirt, because it's asymmetrical and all over the place. Like, it's cascading, and I can't really like tell if it's meant to be cascading this way. And also that like, it's just not attractive at all. And like, you had so many other great options from the most recent Givenchy Haute Couture collection, and this is the one you chose? Next up was Greta Gerwig and Dior. Like, oh god, take off that belt. That draped bodice. And then the fact that you have that necklace that is not even the same shade green. Fringe that's piping this dress literally looks like, I don't even know, grass, like dead grass that Maria Grazia has had some poor person have to, sew piece by piece onto this awful green satin dress. It's so unflattering. It makes her look like a 1950s World War II style, like, pinup model in army green. Like, who wants that? Who wants to dress like that? No one. I don't even know. It's just fucking ugly. It's just ugly. What do you want me to say? Like, what else do you want me to say? It's just ugly. Finally, something good is here. Janelle Monae in Ralph Lauren. I thought I was gonna die at certain points, and this was a great moment. I love this hood on her. I think she looks beautiful. I think she looks stunning. It's ethereal. I love this silver. I think it sparkles and shines and shimmers. It creates texture on the dress. It's not just like a shitty sequin or, you know, one of those awful crystals a la Bottega Veneta. It actually like has dimension. They're different sizes. It almost feels like it's some sort of like beautiful silver expensive barnacle all over her body. And listen, never have I ever wanted beautiful, shiny, expensive barnacles all over me, but now I do. I'm not even like super duper offended at, you know, the fact that I can see where the skirt starts. I think the skirt shape is gigantic. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. It doesn't, you know, change anything. You know what it does? It keeps the same fabric all the way through. And guess what? When you do that, it actually pays off really, 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 really well because you shimmer and you shine and, you know, the focus is on the silhouette here. It's a beautiful silhouette. The focus is on the little hood that is framing her face beautifully. Like, you don't have to do the same goddamn dress with a belt on it every single time. You can actually do something a little bit different. Change up a little bit of a neckline. You know, add a little bit of a muff. Maybe add a bit of a shoulder wrap. Do something. This is a great example of doing something that is different from what we normally see, but making it classy, keeping it very, very chic, but also keeping it quite simple. It's not over the top. It's not ridiculous. It's beautiful and breathtaking and striking. And I'm so proud of Janelle Monae, and we really, truly don't deserve her. Next up is Caitlin Dever in Louis Vuitton. From what I know, I'm pretty positive. I don't even want to. It looks like the ribosome dress. Like, it literally looks like she's wearing, I don't even, no. So you have this red, and then you have this weird, like, bluish, purple, pink, you know, beading all over the dress. And it just looks like chicken pox. It looks like she has shiny chicken pox all over her. Then the cups of this strapless dress are, like, folded over, and it makes it look like her boobs have eyelids. And like, sometimes I like the fold over style. Here I don't like it because honestly, it looks like her boobs are tired. They really look like they want to take a nap. And like, honestly, if I was showing up in that dress, my boobs probably wanted to take a nap too. I don't think the stole is great at all. It looks cheap. It looks chintzy. It looks like it's filled with the stuffing from Build-A-Bear Workshop. It's awful. Why would you wear that? Like, Caitlin Dever, you've been having such, you know, good moments, and now in the final stretch, the final leg of award season, you absolutely fuck it up for me. What's the point? What was the point of getting me hyped and excited and happy about you to now ruin it with this monstrosity? Next up is Kelly Marie Tran in Schiaparelli Haute Couture. Is that... Oh, I like the bodice. I really do. I think the black is great. I think it fits beautifully. I think it's lovely. I think it's wonderful. The crystal printed fold over neckline on the strapless dress, don't love it still. And the asymmetrical poof skirt in the different black than the bodice black is still yikes. I appreciate that she's wearing Schiaparelli, but I think there are better looks, bing, bang, boom, that could have most definitely been worn rather than this one. I understand this one is very, you know, glamorous. It's very chic. It's a big ball gown. That's great. Love that for her. But, you know, there are so many other great designers that could be worn. You don't have to wear Schiaparelli. Next up is a moment from not the Oscars actual red carpet, but in fact the Vanity Fair after party. But Kim Kardashian is wearing Alexander McQueen, and it's not Alexander McQueen by Sarah Burton. It's in fact Alexander McQueen by Alexander McQueen himself, because she is wearing a vintage oyster gown from, I believe, the spring-summer 2003 collection. Now you're probably going to say, Luke, this looks terrible. Don't you hate this? And I would say, no, I don't hate it, but it does look terrible. But there's a reason for that, because, in fact, this collection was all about women shipwrecked. Now, I've never drowned on a boat, but I'm sure the people from the Titanic can tell you. you know, your clothing doesn't exactly look great after the experience. So honestly, the dress is fantastic and it has a really, really great history. So as you can see, the corset is boned. It's beautiful. Now you're probably going to say, Luke, that awful, awful tulle or organza that is all over that dress is disgusting. But in fact, it actually has a real significance to Lee McQueen himself. He was trained as a tailor and honestly is a fantastic tailor, one of the best in fashion to this day. But I think when he went to Givenchy, he learned about the softness of fashion. As you probably know, a lot of Alexander McQueen's work is very harsh and hard. And I think this is a great example of it being harsh and hard. But he also, you know, could do softness. It didn't have to have sharp lines or strict silhouettes. It actually could flow and be quite, you know, soft, ethereal. Now, this is literally tons and tons and tons of hand-cut little circles of chiffon that has been sort of sewn together to create almost like, you know, a lobster tail or like a croissant. You know how they have those little ridges and it sort of flakes? It's like that. And so it really is an amazing feat of fashion, but also for Lee McQueen himself. It's amazing that Kim Kardashian had it altered. She must have had it altered to fit her because there are only 2 of these dresses, I believe, in the world. So it's a really big moment. And that's really why I'm talking about it. It really is an iconic dress in the history of Alexander McQueen, and it looks good on Kim. It really does. I even think the way that the little strings of, you know, sort of tattered fabric just falls down creates like a beautiful little touch to it. I understand if people are going to say like, this is so ugly, I hate it. Because I think when I first see this dress often, I think, it's not great. But again, that's what McQueen was about. It wasn't about being absolutely perfect and beautiful and stunning. It was about telling a story and creating clothing that didn't adhere to what society thinks clothing should be. So honestly, it fits her beautifully. It's a stunning, iconic piece. And there are only 2 of them in the world, and Kim's wearing it. Like, she is the queen of vintage fashion. Next up is Kristen Wiig in Valentino. I love it. I love it. She looks beautiful. She looks stunning. I'm so happy to see her in Valentino. I think a lot of people sort of write Kristen Wiig off as like just a funny lady who, you know, blah, 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 like whatever. But here, I think this is stunning. I think these ruffles are ridiculous. That is the truth. Can't get around it. But it is pure Paolo's Valentino. I think this Valentino red, Valentino Rosso, as they call it, is stunning on her. I think the color is great. And then those beautiful, tight-fitting black opera gloves. Just pull it together so much more. It creates that real juxtaposition of color, and it creates a sharpness for Kristen Wiig. I think also, I don't really talk about people's hair, but I think the hair also is so great. It's that slick down and really tight. It's really, really tight, which I think is playing back into that Valentino collection. I'm really so happy with this. I think it's simple. I think it's stunning. I love that you can see side boob in it. Like, it's a great moment for Kristen Wiig. I think it's a great moment for Valentino. And I think if there's a brand that killed it on the red carpet this Oscars, it was Valentino. They were the clear winners. They dressed to perfection. Next up is another one of our Card Jenner sisters, Kylie Jenner at the Vanity Fair after party in Ralph and Russo. I just wanted to talk about it because I saw her in it and I was like, oh, Kylie, hello, how are you? I think it fits her beautifully. And I think the Kardashians really have a hold on dresses that fit them. I'm not obsessed with this sort of strip of netting that sort of creates this shape because I think it actually makes her body look stranger because on the bodice you have it sort of overlapping on one side and it does create a different shade on the side and I think that's really, really interesting. But when it hits the hip, it sort of creates like an asymmetrical hip, and now an asymmetrical dress is one thing, but you don't want your hips to look asymmetrical. You know what I mean? It's very obvious there's some sort of stitch going all the way down the dress that I don't think is necessarily helpful either. I think when it, you know, connects the netting to the dress, it's cool, it's totally fine. But as it goes down past where the netting stops and goes straight down to the hem of the dress, it's not really that great. But love the fit of it. I do wish Kylie would be a bit more adventurous in terms of her fashion moments, because I think Kim is a great example of, you know, really digging deep in fashion archival history and actually creating some really beautiful moments and giving us really beautiful historical moments of fashion on a red carpet, when now fashion is all about new, 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 new. And it's like, actually, we can do old, we can do vintage, and it can look beautiful. So, you know, I hope for Kylie, she starts to delve into different brands herself. Next up is Laura Dern in Armani. Yikes. So this fringe empire bust is yikes, and I don't think the baubles of fringe falling down with it is helpful either. And then the pink underneath is just so boring. Like, why not do a beautifully fitted black dress underneath? You don't need the pink. The pink is not helpful. I think a beautifully fitted black gown in some sort of very dark, you know, very similar color, black, to this fringe top would be great, with a little bit of a dramatic train, and maybe you do a few sort of fringes at the bottom of the train or the hem of the train just to like help it out there a little bit. But this, no, thank you. Next up is Lucy Boynton in Chanel. Yikes, a doodles, absolutely not. We hate to see it. I don't even know what's happening with that top. It's awful. The Peter Pan collar should be burned. The sleeves are scary. The fact that you have this shirt with the little pleating on it that looks oversized, and then the skirt sort of in captures with the tulle overlay. Ugh, Virginie. Next up is Margaret Qualley in Chanel. And now, whilst I love the fit of this dress, and I mean, she can get away with it because she has this, you know, insane body, the bust, that dead lionfish on the front of it, is awful. I wish it had just been a very plain, simple sort of halter moment instead of that weird pleated, I don't even know what to call it. It literally just looks like a dead fish on her chest. The tulle overlay with the feather fringe at the bottom is beautiful. I think it's really stunning, and I think that could have just been the whole dress. You didn't need to put the dead lionfish on the bust. I think it would have just been beautiful with the fringe and the tulle overlay and the little black dress underneath. Next up is Margot Robbie in Chanel, and this is from the Chanel Spring Summer 1994 collection. And now a lot of people were wondering about this dress. It is vintage. It is designed by Karl Lagerfeld, and that collection specifically was Karl looking at chiffon and sort of trying to create a fog of sorts. It was meant to resemble the fog that falls over Paris. I don't know how well that worked then, but you know, it's a bit whatever now. I do like the little sleeves. I do. I think they're really chic. I think they're different. I think there's something we don't really see a lot. I just think the rest of the dress is kind of boring. You know, it's a gathered and draped dress, empire waistline, like, you know, that's fine. The gigantic piece of jewelry in the center of it is awful. Now, I know that was on the runway as well, but the blues are different. You have one that's dark blue and then one that is like an electric blue in the jewelry. Why do you do that? Like, why can't you color match? It's Chanel. They have their own costume jewelry that they make. I'm lost on why we can't match blues together. Because honestly, I could probably match the blues together, but for some reason you have that electric blue in the center that just totally throws it off. It just totally throws it off. It's awful. It's terrible. I hate it. Next up is Mindy Kaling in Dolce & Gabbana. And like, I wanted to like this moment for Mindy Kaling, but she's wearing Dolce & Gabbana, so I don't. Next up is Natalie Portman in Dior, Haute Couture, a mess. I just wish that cape had just covered up the rest of the dress. Like, I don't know why we couldn't have just had her in one big ass cape. Now, the thing about this dress is it actually has the names of the female directors who were snubbed for awards at the Oscars embroidered on the side. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't embroider them on both sides. Like, just one side. I'm lost, but also it's Dior, so they're not really that smart. I don't think the embroidered sheer overlay is great. I don't think it works well with the black satin cape. I don't really know who thought that styling choice was going to make a lot of sense. And it just seems like it's a bit blah. A bit blah. And by a bit blah, I mean a lot blah. It just doesn't do anything for anybody. It's the Oscars. Do something. Next up is Olivia Colman, Stella McCartney. I don't love it at all, but I appreciate certain aspects of it. I don't really know about the sleeves. Like, I get maybe she was going for something a little bit different. But I do like the velvet on her. I think it's really, really nice. And I do love that they did that side paneling in that sort of electric blue in a different fabric that sort of helps to create a shape on her, which I love. I don't think it really needed the two little scarves or capes or whatever they are attached. I think that just sort of like created too much. And I think that's the issue here, is that there's just too much going on that it sort of ruins what could have been. It could have been quite simple and quite elegant with that sort of interesting sleeve and, you know, the framing of the shape in the velvet. But I think those two sort of scarves with the blue on the outside and the white or pink on the inside just sort of creates a weird, you know, too much going on experience for Olivia Colman. Next up was Penelope Cruz in Chanel. She's wearing like a tight bodice with some halter moment and a gigantic camellia in the middle of her boobs. And then you have a gigantic like puff skirt. There were some okay looking looks in that haute couture collection that, you know, could have been okay without the gigantic black chunky heel and sock. But I don't know. I'm so disappointed in all this shit at this point. Like, Next up is Regina King in Versace, and I don't know what is going on with these weird straps for Versace. It's just so strange. I don't think it's helpful. I think it fits her beautifully. I wish she wouldn't keep going for the same silhouette. I feel like she always does these quite like tight bodycon dresses. It's just not my favorite look from her, and I wish that she would step out in something that's just a bit crazy, a bit kooky, a little bit different. I don't think the asymmetrical neckline is helpful. I think the strap is god-awful. But I don't really mind, you know, the little overskirt, whatever that is, the one that creates a sort of train effect. I feel like had you not had the strap and you had a really, really simple, beautiful, elegant neckline, it actually could have really worked well together. But just there's too much going on. And I think it's becoming an issue. Like, why is there so much going on here? Renee Zellweger in Armani Privé. It's just boring. It's a sequin, you know, one shoulder dress. What am I supposed to do about it? It fits her nicely, but it's Armani Privé, which is haute couture. I expect that. There's nothing, you know, that, like, it should fit nicely. I'm not going to give you a clap on the back for something that it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, you check all the check marks because that's what you're meant to do. But I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it's so great. When in reality, you know, you make that shit every day. It should be so great. Oh! Next up is Rooney Mara. I love this look. It's Alexander McQueen, an icon. She's truly an icon. I love her. It's beautiful. She stopped wearing Givenchy for a hot second. Thank God. I love this lace dress. I love it. I love the layering of, you know, the bra cups, and then there's that sort of halter style that has a cutout, and then the sleeves. And honestly, like, I don't even mind the sort of ruffle skirt. I think your focus really is drawn to the top. I think that's what it's meant to be about. And I love that. I love it so much. I don't even care about the skirt because the top is just so beautiful. And I think people are afraid to do this. Why are you afraid to try this? It's beautiful. It's stunning. It's wonderful. We love to see it. You look ethereal and amazing. Sarah Burton. Thank you. I love you. Next up is Sandra Oh and Ellie Saab, and like, I'm Ellie sobbing because it's so ridiculously ugly. I don't care about the puff sleeves. I don't care about the sequins, embroideries, the crystals, whatever it is. The gigantic like flowers made of tulle and chiffon, like, I don't care. It's ugly. It's gross. It's disgusting. The gigantic, you know, gold bow in the velvet is not helpful either. Like, I want Sandra Oh to have like a great fashion moment. This is not a great fashion moment. Sorry. Next up is Saoirse Ronan in Gucci. Here's the thing. I actually want to like this. Weirdly enough, there's something about those ruffles at the waist that I do think is quite interesting. And I actually don't absolutely hate the juxtaposition of the moire with that black and white. I don't hate it totally. I also think the entirety of award season, we've been really expecting a moment from Saoirse, and we have yet to get it. And I don't think this really is a moment at all for her. Like, I like where it's going, but at the same time, it falls very, very flat. Like, it could have been something great, but it didn't deliver in that manner. A lot of people were saying it was Valentino, which honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, Valentino, that makes sense. But it isn't. It's Gucci. So, you know, it could be much chicer than it actually is. Next up is Scarlett Johansson and Oscar de la Renta. Now, I want to like this. I do. Now, I have been told by inside sources that this is actually a reference back to the Oscar de la Renta Resort 2020 collection, and Scarlett herself really, really loved the fringe from the collection. Something about the caged bustier with the fringe over it is interesting, but I kind of wish they had taken it even further. Maybe had done a whole sheer dress with all of the fringe sort of cascading down it. Like maybe we had a little bit of a nip slip in there, you know, through the fringe. That would have been hot. I also think that you have the silver of the fringe, but I think maybe having done a sort of silver silk skirt would have been helpful too. And, you know, sort of adding the fringe throughout the dress would have also been really, really cool. It just would have brought it together more. I think it's very apparent that you have a quite ivory silk instead of a silver silk. And I'm just not obsessed with the cage bustier, but I wanted the fringe to go somewhere. I feel like it really could have been taken to new heights, but it wasn't, so that sucks. Next up was Timothée Chalamet in Prada, and I thought Timothy was going to come in some amazing Louis Vuitton runway look from the most recent collection, but I was disappointed because he literally just looks like Frank Ocean at the Met Gala. I know he doesn't have a stylist, but I think this is the point where we say, okay, maybe you should get one, because everybody literally just thinks he looks like Frank Ocean at the Met Gala in Prada, which he does. Like, honey, I don't know if the Oscars has a valet service, but I guess you're doing it now. He can wear, quite frankly, a lot. He has a great sort of model frame for it. He's tall. He sort of, you know, is skinnier than a stick. I don't think the black shoes with the navy blue is really, really great. Unfortunately, I know that there is a sort of like stripe of black down the jacket, but I just don't think it really hits well. I think it's really boring for Timmy. I feel like we could have had one of those amazing cutout suits from the most recent Louis Vuitton collection. And I mean, all they talk about is Timmy and Virgil are best friends. So I kind of was expecting that. I just think this really was like a disappointing moment for Timmy in reality. I think it could have been so much better. But unfortunately, we got, you know, Hollywood valet realness. And finally, Zazie Beetz in Thom Browne. And Thom Browne custom looks are actually quite amazing. And unfortunately, I don't think this is a great look for Zazie Beetz at all. It's just quite boring. I know it's a two-piece. I can see that, the bustier. But I also think the little sort of finger-like fringes or cutouts that were coming off of the bustier are quite ugly and scary. I wish he had sort of gone above and beyond in some crazy Thom Browne look. Like, there are so many amazing Thom Browne looks to wear. This is a bit boring and tacky and sad, and I expect a lot better from her. So, yikes. Cynthia Erivo wore something very, very similar quite a while ago, where it was this black sequin Thom Browne look, and then it had a sort of white overlay, which sort of brought in that reference back to suiting and, you know, the black and white sort of tuxedos. And I think they needed something here to sort of tie it into Thom Browne. It needed to have a Thom Browne sort of wink or edge or nod in order for us really to be like, oh, it's Thom Browne, love that, very, very chic. But unfortunately, it just doesn't do that. It's just a black sequin two-piece top and skirt. So I'm sorry that the Oscars sucked. I'm as disappointed as you guys. So yeah, that's really sad way to end off award season. So I'm sorry about that. But please let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Please tell me who your favorite looks were from, and maybe even tell me like who your favorite celebrity from all of award season was, who really hit it out of the park every single time. So I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and TTYL.